This morning on ABC News, host George Stephanopoulos had this amazing introduction to his show where he was talking about the importance, the severity of the 2024 presidential election and how it's like no other we've seen in modern American history. Now, that point was mainly directed at Donald Trump because we know who Joe Biden is. He's a good man, good person, has his policy beliefs, his policy disagreements with the other side, cares about democracy, cares about the fundamentals of the United States. Donald Trump is not that guy. Not that guy. He is the one actually threatening our country and threatening our democracy, and he should be covered as such by the media. So George makes this incredibly important point on the responsibility that the citizens have, but most importantly, the media has in covering the 2024 presidential election. And thus far, I would say that the coverage has not been great. They're giving Donald Trump a little bit too much freedom to continue his path of terror for the United States, kind of insulting our democracy, insulting our justice system without adequately fact-checking him. So I'm going to play that clip of George Stephanopoulos for you, and then later we're going to look at some of these examples of the media covering Donald Trump in a very strange way, covering Joe Biden in a very strange way, and even a clip of Joe Biden talking about the media's role last night at the correspondence dinner at the White House. So here's that clip of George Stephanopoulos.
From ABC News, it's This Week. Here now, George Stephanopoulos.
Good morning and welcome to This Week. Until now, no American president had ever faced a criminal trial. No American president had ever faced a federal indictment for retaining and concealing classified documents. No American president had ever faced a federal indictment or a state indictment for trying to overturn an election or been named an unindicted co-conspirator in 2 other states for the same crime. No American president ever faced hundreds of millions of dollars in judgments for business fraud, defamation, and sexual abuse. Until now, no American presidential race had been more defined by what's happening in courtrooms than what's happening on the campaign trail. Until now. The scale of the abnormality is so staggering that it can actually become numbing. It's all too easy to fall into reflexive habits, to treat this as a normal campaign, where both sides embrace the rule of law, where both sides are dedicated to a debate based on facts and the peaceful transfer of power. But that is not what's happening this election year. Those bedrock tenets of our democracy are being tested in a way we haven't seen since the Civil War. It's a test for the candidates, for those of us in the media, and for all of us as citizens.
Yeah, really great point. I love how he talked about the numbing nature of Donald Trump and his actions, right? Donald Trump is so insane and has been so insane for such a long time that when he lies about something or insults somebody or says something crazy, it's just a regular day. It's no different because it just happens over and over and over again. And your average American gets tired and just starts to accept that that is who Donald Trump is. And truly, this has led to the candidates being held to a different standard. Joe Biden is held to a standard that's all the way up here. And Donald Trump is held to a standard all the way down there. So if Joe Biden were to do anything or say anything that Donald Trump has or does, it would be over for him. His political career would be done. But Donald Trump can get away with all of that stuff. If Joe Biden does this and people are outraged about it, if Donald Trump does it, there's no problem. And vice versa, right? Donald Trump does this, Joe Biden doesn't, no biggie. If Donald Trump is insulting our justice system, insulting the FBI, insulting the DOJ, saying that it's all corrupt and that it needs to be torn down, everybody's just like, yeah, it's Trump being Trump. If Joe Biden were to say that, it would be the end of the world. And rightfully so. No president, no candidate should be saying something like that. Undoubtedly, Joe Biden should not go on his own path of terror and start insulting all of these people and insulting our institutions and trying to overturn an election. That is that's the standard we should be holding candidates to. But the standard for Trump is just so much lower because we're all numb. A lot of people are numb. Your average American is numb to the insanity of Donald Trump. And that is a bad pattern to fall into. And it's the media's job to make sure that that is not the hole that the country falls into. And thus far, hasn't really done its job. I mean, we just got this reporting the other day that apparently the New York Times is so upset that Biden has not sat down for an interview with them during his presidency that now they are covering him in a more harsh way and his age in a more harsh way. which appears to be the truth because after that special counsel report came out from Robert Hur, which was a political hit job, they ran all these different opinion pieces on Joe Biden's age, like 13 of them in the day after. 13. But when Donald Trump's falling asleep in court, oh no, there's no opinion pieces. There's no talk about his age. There's no talk about his ability to be president. So that's just one example. And then we have, obviously the lunatics on the right, Fox News, who, have this sensationalized media garbage all of the time. I mean, they lost their lawsuit with Dominion, had to pay $787.5 million for lying about them. In one of the most important elections in American history, they were lying and had to pay $800 million for it. The media, in many ways, is incredibly important to America. And it's such a beautiful thing in this country that many others don't have the privilege of having, right? This is a unique privilege in the world. But it is problematic when people in the media don't do their jobs, don't do the job correctly. When you have these far-right lunatics over there who are, doing Donald Trump's bidding, saying whatever he wants them to say and all that stuff. And then you have media kind of down the middle, like the New York Times, but they're covering Biden in a worse way, in a more harsh way than Donald Trump. And they're making a bigger deal of Biden's age and not Trump's age when Trump is literally 3 years younger than Joe Biden. I mean, please. It is incredibly dangerous, and it's thus far shown itself to be a problem in the 2024 election, and that responsibility that George Stephanopoulos was talking about is an incredibly important one that a lot in the media seem to be ignoring and kind of forgetting about. And that is a point that Joe Biden made at the correspondents' dinner last night in Washington, D.C. He said, I'm not asking you to be on my side. I'm asking you to rise to the moment. So here's that clip of Biden last night making this argument to the media, right to their faces, actually.
A defeated former president has made no secret of his attack on our democracy. He said he wants to be a dictator on day one, and so much more. He tells supporters he is their revenge and retribution. When in God's name have you ever heard of another president say something like that? And he promised a bloodbath when he loses again. We have to take this seriously. 8 years ago, you could have written off it as just Trump talk, but no longer, not after January 6th. I'm sincerely not asking of you to take sides, but asking you to rise up to the seriousness of the moment. Move past the horse race numbers and the gotcha moments and the distractions, the sideshows that have come to dominate and sensationalize our politics. And focus on what's actually at stake. And I think in your hearts you know what's at stake. The stakes couldn't be higher. Every single one of us has a role to play, a serious role to play, in making sure democracy endures, American democracy. I have my role, but with all due respect, so do you. In the age of disinformation, credible information that people can trust is more important than ever. And that makes you, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, makes you more important than ever.
Yeah, I love that point. And first thing I want to say is I don't know if this was intentional or not, but I loved how the camera was on Peter Doocy from Fox News while he was talking about the stakes in this election and being honest and not focusing on the numbers and the gotcha moments, but rather focusing on what's at stake. So the camera being on him at that moment was fitting. I hope it was intentional. If it wasn't, still very funny. But he's right. The media has to rise to the moment. We are seeing the most insane rhetoric from the Republican nominee for president. We have seen, in the past tense, the most insane rhetoric from that very guy as well, trying to overturn an election, proven sexual abuser, business fraud in New York City, 88 felony charges. We just learned the other day that his former attorney general confirmed that he talked about executing people that he didn't like during his presidency. This is not a moment for the both sides isms, right? Playing both sides equally, trying to appear moderate for the sake of appearing moderate, right? This is a time to cover things correctly and hold people accountable when they need to be held accountable. I am not saying that they have to write puff pieces about Joe Biden every day and sing his praises. But I think the people deserve honesty here and talking about Donald Trump in a way that speaks to the genuine threat that he poses, not well, Donald Trump did this as president and Joe Biden did this. No. Talk about the unique threat that we as a people are facing in this election and have faced in the past couple of years, and even during Donald Trump's term as president when he was actually in the Oval Office. That's all we want. That's all we want. That's all I ask for. I know it's all you ask for as well. And hopefully this, as we get closer to the election, we're around 6 months away now. It seems so far away, yet it feels so close. As we get closer, I hope that the media will rise to the moment and cover Donald Trump fairly, cover his trials correctly. And that includes right-wing media. Now, that might be a pipe dream, but we can hope. So I'll leave it there. I just wanted to highlight that amazing George Stephanopoulos intro to his show this morning. I thought talking about the responsibility is an incredibly important point to make, one that's not talked about all that often, but coming up more as we get closer to 2024. But I appreciate you being here. Make sure to subscribe down below. Drop a like on the video. Comment. Let me know what you think. Share it with anybody you think needs to see it. And I appreciate you. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.